What's going on, y'all? And welcome to another show of the Jermaine Johnson Show. I guess I say episode, right? It's supposed to say episode. Welcome to another episode of the Jermaine Johnson Show. This is a podcast that probably by now that we talk about sports and politics. And today is one of those things where we're going to be talking about a little bit more of this politics thing, where we want to really delve into some of these issues and concerns and ways to save money in politics. And I know we like to do that. So I'm joined by a good friend of mine. Her name is Nicole Sanchez, and I'm gonna allow her to really introduce herself in a second. But what we've been seeing across the state and this nation are a lot of I guess you'd say runoffs. Like you see when somebody and you have more than two people in a race in a political race. You get three, four, five, six people sometimes in these races, and sometimes the person who's in first place, they don't get the majority of the votes to come out. They don't get the 50+1 out there. So what happens is a runoff after that. So the top two vote getters, they'll have another election date scheduled, and on that election day, sometime 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. And during that election time, they have to be able to galvanize their supporters to come back out again and to vote again. And the government or the municipality, they have to spend additional funding on these elections again. And small towns have to do the same thing. So they have to go through these situations where they have to continue to spend money. And we don't like spending money, especially when you're a small rural town. You don't have a lot of money to spend. We don't like wasting additional monies on things that we can get right the first time. So, and that's going to be the focus of our conversation today. We're talking about instant runoff voting or ranked choice voting, whatever you want to call it. We have a number of political activists in the state who are pushing for ranked choice voting. I myself am a sponsor of a ranked choice voting bill, along with a Republican representative, Neil Collins. So this is a bipartisan supported bill. And it's something that we want to see in this state, not on the state level, but we want to start it off on the local level and see how it can work out. But we're going to dive into some of the particulars of what this means. If this is a bad thing, good thing, what are some of the shortcomings, shortfalls, and all of the good stuff. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today, being a part of this conversation. We know you are an expert in this, and you teach a lot of people about how this thing works. But before we dive into it, tell the people who you are, your name, all that type of stuff, and give us some background.
Of course, of course. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited about this. I love talking instant runoff voting, and it's
Yes.
always great to catch up with you. And so thank you. So my name is Nicole Sanchez, and I am the president of Better Ballot South Carolina. We were founded back in early 2021. I've been the president the whole time. And while we have a couple of other interests, other things that can better the ballot, our main focus is upgrading our elections through instant runoff voting.
Like what the heck
So
what does it even mean? What does this runoff voting even mean for somebody? Because I mean, so I've got a bill for it. And we worked together to get this bill going. But it's still, even for me, even for somebody who is a champion of it, a supporter of it, has a bill for it. It's still difficult for me to even explain in layman's terms to somebody who's not involved with the political process how to even, like, it's hard for me to explain what this is and how it operates. Can you explain it to the people, because you're the best? I rely on you, the expert, a lot of times to translate some of this stuff. So can you explain to me what this is?
I would be happy to. So um, on the voter side of things, the only change is that currently when you go to the ballot box, you vote for one candidate. In theory, that is the candidate that you think will do the best job. But in reality, you don't always vote for your favorite candidate. And that's because in our current system, you have to be strategic with how you vote, because again, you're just pushing that one button. So with instant runoff voting, the difference is simple. You rank your candidates in the order that you prefer them. Because you are ranking your candidates, so one, you can fully articulate how you feel about those candidates. You don't have to rank anyone that you don't want to vote for, so you can fully articulate how you feel about them. If you really like candidate A and candidate B is all right and candidate C is but maybe D is okay, you can rank them in the order that you prefer them. And then if your top choice doesn't have a path to victory, that vote is essentially your vote goes from your first choice to your second choice. So your backup choice, who maybe, isn't your dream candidate, but you still like them and you think they would do a good job, your vote is now
no matter how
transferred
you
to
look
them.
at it, you're in a I guess you would say in a not situation. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. In a scenario like this, essentially your vote will always count in some way, shape, or form.
If you rank all of them, yes. The more you rank, the more chance you have of your vote fully counting. But even if you do not rank every single candidate, your vote, again, you are able to participate more fully. Especially because, so one of the best benefits of this is that we get to get rid of traditional runoffs. And so runoffs are great because they ensure majority support. If we don't have any form of runoff, then you're stuck with plurality voting. And there are places in the state that use that, like North Charleston, for instance, in 2023. Some of their city council people, they were elected with like 20-30% of the vote because it was a crowded field. And yeah, exactly. And maybe they did have wide support from the rest of the electorate, but we have no idea. We just know that 80% in let's say 25%, somebody won with 25%. The only thing we know for sure is that 75% of people
That's the
picked
craziest thing
someone
ever.
else.
It's like, you know that if I get 34%, you get 33, the other person gets 33. Literally 66% of people didn't even want me, but I get to be your representative because I had 34%?
Yes. Yes, that's why plurality voting that's like the biggest pitfall with plurality voting. And the alternative to that we have for municipal elections is having runoffs. And again, it's good because if nobody gets 50% in that first time you went to the polls this year for the partisan primaries, that was June 11th, 13.9, I think, was the final total. 13.9% of registered voters went out and voted, and which is not a high enough number. But the problem is that even less people, usually like half,
I think like
come
4
out for
point
the
something came
runoff.
out in the Overture Walker and Ivory Thigpen runoff, like 4 point something percent. And I was like, oh my God, man.
Oh yeah, I have some of the stats for that. In that in particular, about 30%, it looks like about 30% less people came out for that, which is dramatic. It's dramatic. It makes the difference. So you have the decisions of the many being decided by the few, but everyone has to pay for it because like elections just don't happen. You have to pay the poll workers, you have to pay for the equipment, you have to pay for buildings. Like all of this goes into an election, and we're getting skewed results by having a runoff 2 weeks later. The solution is simple. You rank your candidates. We already have the information because that first time you went to the polls when we got more people, not
Mm-hmm.
enough, but more people expressing their views. So we have a more we are essentially the winner actually has majority support. And we got that
Yeah,
just from people
but
ranking candidates,
what? So
which, I
I mean,
mean,
it
it's simple.
sounds like it's very straightforward. But I think you have some also some more data because we've talked about this also about how much money some of these places have had to use on just runoffs in general. I mean, you might want to look a couple of those up right now. You know, so I mean, I want people to know, I mean, how much money is being wasted on this type of stuff? And I definitely say wasted because I mean, just think about a small town, like let's say a town of like the town of Eastover. I'm gonna use that as an example. The town of Eastover is, you know, maybe 4,000 people, you know, in the incorporated town. And in that town, you know, I mean, every dollar counts. Every dollar counts in a rural small municipality. Every dollar counts. And if I have to have a runoff and spend additional thousands of dollars on these runoffs when I shouldn't have to. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Did that call come through there? Let's see. Where did that go? I had my phone was ringing there for some whatever reason. Close this thing out. All right, all right. Where was I at, John? I don't want I don't want the thing to get messed up. Cut that out. All right, gotcha. Cool.
I can
All
respond to
right. I'm
that.
gonna get back on there. All right, so, yeah.
It is getting ridiculous. It 100% is. So, on the large end, Charleston for their municipal runoffs in 2023 spent
Oh
$105,000
my
just on
God.
the runoff itself. Um, right? And now you may say, that's Charleston's huge. They can eat that cost. That's fine. But then let's go on the other end of the spectrum. Central South Carolina, they have a population from 2022. The number I have is 5,300 people. They spent
Yep.
$2,900 on their
Every
runoffs.
dollar. Yep.
Every dollar counts when you are that
Yep.
small.
It's I mean for me it's a no brainer. I mean it is an absolute no brainer, specifically for these small towns, which is why the bill that I filed myself and Representative Collins is to start off with the municipalities. You know, it's to start off with them to help them get some financial relief,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even a mandate for them. It's not like, hey, you have to do this or you have to do that. It's to give them the option to choose. To say, hey, listen, if we don't want to go down this road and waste some more money, allow us the option. We're going to choose this option to even consider electing individuals. And you know, I think that we've got to look at more ways to save money, especially in this economy where we're seeing high inflation and, you know, situations like that. We've got to look at all different types of ways to save money instead of having to raise taxes on people. You know, let's look at other ways to save financial
I
hardships
couldn't
from
agree more.
people. I mean, it's ways, but
Mm-hmm.
what are the some like I know there's got to be some fallbacks. There's got to be some naysayers out there. What the heck are these naysayers? what what
There
are these
are.
naysayers saying? I mean, that me and you have heard the same from. What are they saying?
Well, before we get into some of the naysayers, I do want to point out one positive,
Sure.
one organization in South Carolina that I feel
Yeah.
is important to point out that they support this bill and the option for municipalities, and that is the
No
Municipal Association
shoot.
of South Carolina. Uh,
The municipalities of
oh
South
yeah,
Carolina, the
oh yeah.
organization, they support a bill that can help save them some money. Oh my God.
I know
Crazy.
it's crazy, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like they support more choice, um, and so do I. Uh, however, there are some naysayers out there. One of the most common um, complaints about it is that it's confusing. Personally, I think that is doing
Mhm.
a disservice to voters. We rank things all the time. You send your partner to the grocery store, and you're like, I got a hankering for ice cream. If I want butter pecan, but if they don't want
Mhm.
if they don't have butter pecan,
I can
let's
settle.
go with Rocky Road. And if they don't have Rocky Road, I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
just vanilla bean.
Yeah.
You have ranked your ice cream.
Why in the
It's
heck
the
aren't
same
we
thing.
doing this? Like, I just don't understand. I mean, cause we do this all the time as it is. It's like, yeah, I rank my food up. Like, listen, if they
We
ain't got
do, we
it, then I
do.
want this right here. If they ain't got that, no worries. I'll go with this one here, and then I'll still be good. But if they don't have none of those, and it's like, we're in trouble. But usually we're gonna have something. We're gonna have something.
Hmm.
It's making me think that in this current climate that we're in right now, so we have a lot of people who can't stand Joe Biden. We've got a lot of people who can't stand Donald Trump. We've got a lot of people that can't stand a lot of these people out there. I think there's got to be a few hundred people actually that are officially running for president right now. But let's just take the people that we know right now. We've got Donald Trump,
Hmm.
we've got Joe Biden, we've got Marianne Williamson, and we've got RFK. We got those people right there. So in this scenario, tell me if I'm right. In this scenario, I would just rank my people from top to bottom in there. I would say because I'm gonna say I'm riding with Biden, so I would say Joe Biden first. I would say second RFK, third Marianne, fourth a dog wearing a yellow shirt, and then fifth somebody else. And I wouldn't even rank Donald Trump. Is that how that could work? Okay. All right.
Yes, yes. That's exactly right. Yeah. We all have opinions. There are ways for the electorate to be well informed about all of these candidates. And we, if we have the knowledge, we want to be able to express it well, because as it stands now, you have in the presidential election, like you said, you have a lot of people who are
Mm-hmm.
unhappy with their two main options, but they have to, they either hope that their third party candidate can really like push
Yeah.
through, and like Ross Perot got almost 20 or around 20
Mm-hmm.
back in the 90s. That's sources say that's why
Mm-hmm.
we have, well, why we got Clinton, because he split the vote. And the same kind of thing can happen currently with our current system. There are essentially, because we can't rank our candidates, we are subject
Yeah.
to what's called the spoiler effect, and those third party candidates spoil it, which I think is honestly doing a disservice to them, because they're good people.
Yeah.
It's the system that doesn't work. It
Yeah.
forces
Yeah.
us to
I
have
hate the
those
fact
two
that we're
choices.
forced into either a left or a right box there. I mean, I honestly, I don't think it helps anybody. I don't think it helps anybody by being forced into a left or a right and making us clash against each other and that type of thing. I was Yeah, I mean, I was looked down upon
I couldn't
because
agree
I
more.
like my district to be purple. Like the district that I represent now, I like it purple. I like a mixture of Republicans and Democrats because it forces you to actually go out and talk to people. I actually have to go out there and get to know individuals and shake hands and talk to people who disagree with me or who I don't agree with, and I've got to understand where they're coming from. When you are sitting in a primarily red district or a primarily blue district, you don't have to do anything. You just have to hope that your people are going to go out
Mm-mm.
and push that straight R or straight D button, and it allows you to be a lazy politician. And I can't stand lazy elected officials because you're supposed to be representing the people. And if we're operating under a ranked choice voting system,
Yes,
you have to be nice to everybody. You can't demonize, you can't demonize
that's
one
true.
particular portion of the population and say those people are bad people. No, you got to go find common ground with individuals because if you don't want me as your number one, I want you to make me your number two.
Exactly, exactly. That's one of the best examples of that was in Alaska. Alaska uses they use a little different. Their primary is this blanket primary, and then their general is whoever wins that, then you rank them in the general. So, but specifically in the general, um, for the U.S. House race, they only have one. The huge state of Alaska, they have such a low population that they only have one
Wow.
congressman, right? And she
Hmm.
is a Democrat.
Hmm.
She is a moderate Democrat, but she is a Democrat because she campaigned with everyone. She focused on the issues of Alaska, fish, and being an Alaska native and representing that community were huge on her platforms. Personally, I don't really
Yeah.
care about fish, but I don't live in
Right.
Alaska,
Right. Yeah.
right? And with that, she picked up enough second choice votes that because she didn't win an outright majority, but then she picked up enough second choice votes in the instant runoff that she then won the election. And from what I can tell, Alaskans seem happy
Of
with their
course.
choice. Not all of
There's
them.
always a sore
Not
loser.
all of
There's always
them.
gonna be some
There
sore
is
losers
a
out there. Of
movement
course, you're
in
always gonna have
Alaska
sore
to
losers.
repeal it.
But sore losers.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but I
But
feel like sore losers are what got us Donald Trump. I feel like that's what sore losers what got us Donald Trump. We have way too many people who
that's
said
fair.
if it wasn't my candidate, then I'm not going out to vote, or if it's not my candidate, then I'm voting for the other side, or if it's not my candidate, you know, I'm going to curse the other one. And I feel like sore loserism is what got us to the point that we're at now, along with the hatred of a black man by the name of President Barack Obama. But I'd say this: the sore loser attitude is what got us to where we are today. And I feel like ranked choice voting could get us out of some of that craziness that that we've seen.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to Alaska real quick because this is actually pretty exciting. So, yay, Mary Peltola, who's the representative. I'm very pleased that she seems to be doing a good job and they're happy with her. But honestly, the big deal is the state house. So, and you don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but in the state house, the establishment Republicans and the Democrats have formed a coalition government because the Freedom Caucus people were being too crazy and
Sound like
were
something
trying to
else.
like just smash everything. So it's right. So, but like you have Democrats and Republicans working together to get the
Hmm.
business of government done. And that is fantastic. And it's all under
Yep.
an incredibly
Yep.
conservative governor. Like, and it's great. Like this is what's supposed to
Yes.
happen. We're supposed to work together. And instant runoff voting gives us the room to
I love that you just
actually
brought
do
that up
that.
because now it allows me to kind of feed into the conversation about how they keep calling us the South Carolina Uniparty. They keep calling us the South Carolina Uniparty because some of us want to work with the others, and a lot of times it is frowned upon. It is frowned upon, but we have created a system that allows you to frown upon it. So until you change the system, you're going to continue to have these
Yes.
types of wars and these fights and these things that we continue to see every day in the media. And it won't look like what you're explaining there in Alaska is going on, where people are actually working together in those situations. Because I think we need to work more together. Versus if it ain't my way, it ain't gonna be. It can't be your way or my way or the highway type of situation. We got to change this system.
Yeah, oh, completely. The way this works, the way that this form of government works is when we work together.
Hmm.
We can have different ideas, and that's good. Different ideas allow us to flourish and to actually consider the consequences of our actions. But if it's just well, you're not having you don't like my things, well then I'm not going to do yours. And just that's just nope, we're just not going to do it. I'd rather see this burn than pass this bill
Uh huh.
which
Uh
may
huh.
not be perfect. may not be perfect,
Right.
but
Right.
is
My
beneficial.
good buddy, yeah, and you might know him, you might not, but I've got a good friend by the name of Andrew Yang, and he is a person.
Oh yeah,
And he introduced me to this concept of ranked choice voting. I did, as a matter of fact, he also introduced me to Twitter,
same.
or now X, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but I was not on Twitter
Yes, X.
or X before I met Andrew, and before I started. And I didn't know what ranked choice voting was until I worked with, and I also didn't know what a UBI was until I started working with Andrew on a lot of these things. So uh, he has now since left the Democratic Party and started the Forward Party.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, and I'm also considered a forward Democrat. I'm considered a forward Democrat because, like I said, I'm a work with everybody type of guy. And him starting the Forward Party, one of their core issues is establishing instant runoff voting or ranked choice voting, whatever you want to call it, in these different municipalities, in these different states and
Yes.
things. How how has that been working for him? Has there been any success in getting some of this stuff done in other parts of the country? Matter of fact, what other parts of the country is doing this type of stuff?
Okay, so it is ranked choice voting is honestly the fastest growing reform in the country.
Yeah.
Well, electoral reform in the country, because it's simple, it makes sense, and it essentially yields the most results with the little bit of change. Because everything, basically, most
Yeah.
things stay the same. You're just ranking them like that. That's it. Which I should also throw out that we actually do this
So this
for
is already
some of our
happening in
South
South
Carolina
Carolina.
voters. Our overseas,
Yeah.
technically, it's the people who aren't in South Carolina
Aha.
but are South Carolina residents. It's our overseas and absentee voters. They have the option of using a ranked ballot so that their vote can count in the event of a
Aha.
runoff. So, yep, if you are overseas and you during the election and you are going to vote, you
Why in the
get to
heck are we
use
talking to
an
those
instant
people
runoff
to ask them
ballot,
how they like that
which
system? What like we I think we should do an interview or some sort of a dissertation or something or polling on those individuals who have used this in South Carolina and ask them what's
I
their
love it.
opinion of how do they like it? Is it good for them? What can they see? Why aren't we talking to those people? Because they're South Carolinians, one, and they're already using the system here in South Carolina. They're already using
Hmm.
it. Yeah.
Yep, it's
And
our
it's our
military.
military. I mean, it's our
No, I
military that's
agree.
already doing it for God's.
We
I mean,
do
come on.
yeah. Now we don't have polling from them, but we polling has been conducted on ranked choice elections in other parts of the country. So Maine and Alaska use it statewide. Then there are municipalities and counties that use it throughout the state. Like Utah's in the middle of
Mhm,
a municipal option, like
mhm.
we are shooting for. So they have a pilot program, and several million Utahns have used instant runoff voting, ranked choice voting, and the
Of
polling
course.
out of it is incredibly positive. Um, they overwhelmingly understand it, and they overwhelmingly want to use it again. It's simple, and they like that they have more
Yeah.
of a voice in their elections. I mean, that's the whole point, right? I mean, this is we live in, whether you want to call it a democracy or a republic, we are still, our voices are important. And the more
Yeah.
voice we
I
have, the
wonder what
better
would be
we
the
function.
process if I wanted to do a pilot program in just maybe one or two of the small towns in South Carolina and just report on the outcomes and the findings of that election in just one or two of them. You know, not to go statewide, not to completely pass my bill, but just to get some sort of evidence and just to gain some traction. I mean, I probably don't. I got to figure out what the process is. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, the South Carolina laws dictate three ways that
Mm-hmm.
municipalities can run elections. One of them is a primary, and it's a top two primary. So whoever your top two winners for the primary is, then they go to the general. Um, then there's the plurality, which we discussed earlier. And then there is majority, which is runoffs that we also discussed. Those are your three options. If it is not one of those options, you can't do it. So unfortunately, as
Yeah,
far as I
yeah.
know,
So
we
I
need to pass
probably
that
could
law.
do it by introducing a proviso. If I probably if I introduce a proviso
Mm-hmm.
to create a pilot program in a specific area, I probably and it would have a sunset period. I probably could do it that way. I'm gonna look into that and see if that is something that I can do. If I could just introduce it as a proviso in this next year, and to see if that's possible. If it's possible, I'm damn sure gonna try. So I'm, I'm damn sure gonna
All
try
right.
and see if
Okay.
I could just do that. I'll probably have to find a willing mayor of a municipality or something that would allow me to utilize their town as a pilot program, or I guess utilize it, or just give them the option to utilize it as a pilot program. To figure that out, I think that if we
Mm.
do that and we get some traction, then we go from our coalition of people to an entire town of people who are saying we like this, we want to do this, we want to move forward with something like this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the best way.
I like it. I mean, again, when people use it, they're happy with it. So I would be very happy supporting a pilot program as well. It's a
Yeah,
slightly
yeah,
smaller
yeah.
pill
I
for
think that's
people
the
to
issue that we're
swallow.
dealing with. Is people are like, oh my god, oh my god. I mean, one of the other representatives there, I'm gonna go ahead and call him Bill Taylor. Bill Taylor had a huge. I mean, I don't know why he had a
Uh,
huge problem with instant runoff voting, and was there and wants to ban it for the entire state of South Carolina. I mean, we talk about Republicans love to talk about less government. We want less government, less government, less government, but then they
mhm.
insert themselves in everything. I mean, they don't want to give you a choice. They don't want to give you a choice or an option. They're like, nope, you can't do it. But we want less government, but you can't do it. And it's not even affecting them or their towns or their
Mhm.
communities. It's like, nope, 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 you can't do
Yep. And part of that is the, not to go down a rabbit hole, but it's a bit of the
it. Yeah.
nationalization of our local politics as well. That Alaska example that I was talking about, a lot of times the far right, all that they concentrate on is that in red Alaska, they
Mm-hmm.
got a Democrat and they got a moderate Republican as a senator,
Yep.
and then they
Yep.
ignore everything else. And unfortunately, it's they've
Yep.
they nationally came out against it. And I think it's from what I have heard from my sources, the main reason for
Yeah.
that was
They don't want to see
Alaska,
that. They don't want to see.
um,
Yeah, I mean,
and
it is
just
insane.
frustrating.
In South Carolina, we are ruby red. We are a ruby red state. And I found this past
We are.
session, I found the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, they have their meetings, and they do they on their meetings they have an agenda for what they're going to be doing for the upcoming session. And I found one. I found one of their agendas. Yeah, so
Okay.
so I found what they were going to be doing. So I kind
Oh
of knew
boy.
what they were going
Oh
to be
boy.
doing. And on their agenda had our bill, the bill for instant runoff voting. On the dang thing was we have to stop this. We can't allow this to happen. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, why is this such a big thing for you? The hunch that I have is that because South Carolina is so ruby red, I mean, it is so ruby red, any change to the electoral process would be detrimental for them. That's what I believe that they believe. I believe that that's what they believe. Yeah, I believe
I'd
that
be
that's
inclined
what
to
they
agree
believe
with
is
you.
because they have such a super majority that they feel like, why would we change something when they're winning everything? Why would they do that? And I think I think that's the reason. But I think we need to look at it for the 5.3 million people that are in this state that maybe want something different.
I agree. And also, You can't help but notice that over the last session, there were some pretty strong clashes between the
Yes.
establishment
Yes.
Republicans and the Freedom Caucus. And the fact is that this kind of reform also not packing a bunch of Republicans and a
Yep.
bunch of Democrats into their own separate districts, because that just pushes people further and further and further. But also, instant runoff voting can tamp down on that, and it can help us bring people to the state house who want to work, who want to do
Right.
positive
Right.
things for the state. And I hope that they see that, because they didn't do so. The establishment
Ooh,
didn't do so
Lord.
great in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
recent
The
primaries.
establishment lost a couple of leaders. They lost a couple of leaders. And I can assure you that the Freedom Caucus, they are beating their chest right now in excitement. And if you thought you
Oh,
saw
they are.
something this last session, you are going to see some craziness in this upcoming session. Because one, we have this presidential election
Mm-hmm.
that's coming up. So depending on who wins or loses, you're going to see a lot of craziness. And then going to the next session, you've got people who are coming to the South Carolina General Assembly who are going to be joining the Freedom Caucus on both sides in terms of the House and the Senate, who are going to be part of the Freedom Caucus. So they feel much more empowered now that they did not lose all of their leadership. They weren't crushed by the established Republicans, and now they feel like they're untouchable. So they're going to become a lot more outspoken and just brash individuals in this next session. So I'm gonna sit in the back and I'm gonna watch them just cannibalize themselves and beat each other to death. And then hopefully people like myself will see this and say, you know what, enough is enough. Let's get out and vote. Let's vote both sides out in terms of Republicans and Freedom Caucus, and let's move this state forward the way that it should be moving.
Yep. There has to be a path forward. I want a functioning state that isn't bogged down in petty bickering about extreme bills. Um, and yeah, one of the ways forward
Yeah.
is instant runoff voting. And a lot of times you feel that, like, this is the same way we've always voted. Therefore, we should continue voting like this, and this is just the way it is. This is not how we have
Yeah.
always voted. It is not. And we can change it for the better. Nothing is perfect right out the gate. It's all about tweaking and improving. And this simple tweak can have very positive ramifications: reducing polarization, saving time and money, increasing representation. It's overall good. I personally want
More
more voice
choice,
and more choice on my
I'm sorry,
ballot.
more voice, more choice. All right, I said it right. All right. Well,
Yep.
Nicole, it has been a pleasure to have you on here talking about this instant runoff voting and ranked choice voting and all that. Can you please, before you leave, can you tell if people are interested in getting in contact with you or knowing anything about answering some and ask some questions or anything? Can you please tell the people how to get in contact with you?
Please. All right. So the website is betterballotsc.org. You can find all kinds of information on there about why IRV is good, how to contact your legislators. There's federal legislation on there that would move it forward at the federal level, all kinds of stuff. If you want to contact me directly, info@betterballotsc.org. Or my phone number is 803-881-6027. And I'm incredibly passionate about this, and I want a better future for South
All
Carolina. So
right,
feel
all
free to
right.
give me a ring.
Again, Nicole, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. And listeners, we appreciate you for
Thank you.
listening to some of the issues. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. This episode of the Jermaine Johnson Show has been brought to you by the Arena SC. Again, like, share, subscribe. free subscribes, that helps us just as much as the paid subscriptions. But of course, we want you to be a paid subscriber. All right, we want you to be paid, but the free ones just as important. So like, share, subscribe, get the information, and we're going to bring it to you every single week. So we appreciate you and thank you so much. Have a good rest of your week.